The next speaker this evening, storyteller, is Kanako.
So my longest first date lasted for 5 hours. I guess we could call it a blind date. Although to prep for this date, I had a handwritten CV of not only the guy, but of his immediate family. So even before I met him, I knew that his father was a retired banker, his mom a housewife, and his younger sister an OL, office lady, which is what we in Japan call the woman in the workplace. Needless to say, there's no such term as OG, office gentleman, although I'm sure we wouldn't mind working alongside one of those. So the blind date, was being set up by a middle-aged society lady who owned a jewelry store in Ginza, which is an upmarket district in Tokyo. I guess as a business model, it makes a lot of sense. You bring sons and daughters from your well-to-do clients together, and the grateful couple would buy engagement rings and marriage bands from your shop. It was my mother who had solicited the services of the matchmaker. And she soon found out that in the matchmaking universe, I was a difficult case. First of all, I was overeducated. I had gone to the so-called top university in Japan, where 75% of the student body were male, and the female students on their first day at university were given a campus map, which indicated where all the female bathrooms were. And I can tell you, there weren't many. So throughout my 4 years in the University of Tokyo, all my female friendships were with girls I met in the bathroom. Second of all, I had just turned 30, which, according to my lovely maternal grandmother, was too old even to be touched by chopsticks. And finally, I was a returnee. By that, it means that I had spent part of my childhood abroad outside of Japan. So despite my triple burden, the matchmaker did her magic and did manage to line up a few eligible, not so young bachelors who were willing to meet with me. So that's how I found myself one Sunday afternoon in beautiful spring day in Japan on the top floor lounge of Imperial Hotel Tokyo. The lounge was a venue of choice for the matchmaker. It had a panoramic view of the city. It was private. It was quiet. It was perfect for striking business deal, including deals for life. I walked in, the matchmaker quickly introduced me to the guy, and she sort of pushed us both towards our seat, and I could feel at the back of behind me her good luck vibes that was radiating my back. So we sat down, and of course my mom had prepped me for this moment. She said, when you order your drinks, make sure you order the same thing as the guy, because it gives an impression that you are obliging. So the waiter comes and takes his order. This is Japan, so they take the men's order first. He orders iced coffee, and I ordered iced masala chai latte. From his CV, I knew that the guy was a doctor and a lawyer. My mom half-jokingly said the night before, I hope he's not a Frankenstein's monster, but I could see in her eyes she was really serious. So our drinks, he had agreed to meet with me, because he was very picky, but he wanted a smart wife who could produce smart children. So the drinks arrived, and there was silence. So like a good Japanese girl, I waited for the guy to say the first word, make the first move on the chessboard, but silence. So like an overeducated, over-the-hill returnee that I was, I started talking. I talked about the view, I talked about the weather, I asked about his hobby, which I knew was American football from the CV. I asked whether he liked being a doctor or a lawyer. I talked a little bit about what I do, what my hobbies were, and so on and so forth. The conversation went for 5 hours. 4.5 hours of which was me talking, asking questions, and sometimes even answering my own. After 5 long hours, he finally picks up the check and he walks me to the nearest train station. We say our thank yous, we bow, and I disappear into the crowd of Tokyo. I get home and my parents are eagerly waiting for me. My dad says the first word. How did it go? Well, he didn't say much, so I had to do most of the talking, I said. My father shakes his head. Girls are not supposed to talk in these meetings. And then he says, he was assessing you. And my mom says, so do you want to see him again, if he asks? And I said, not really. But like in any conversation that happens in the Mabuchi household, my mom has the final say. Unless you feel like you're gonna throw up on his face when you see him, it is impolite to say no after the first date. And that was that. Of course, I never did see the guy again. I never did find out whether he was a Frankenstein's monster. A few days later, he told the matchmakers that he didn't think he could control me. So I guess my father was right, at least on one account. The guy had been assessing me, and in those 5 hours, he had understood something which my parents were trying so hard not to. That I was simply not cut out to be a Japanese wife. 3 weeks later, I was on a plane to Rome, and I have never looked back. Thank you very much.